Actually, I didn't mean to have an encore slide, but I guess I do. I think this just pretty much sums up what I just said. So sorry about that.
So questions for Steve, please come up to the microphone. That would be great.
I'm just going to grab this water. I can hear you. I'll repeat the question.
Yeah, thank you. So that was a great presentation. I'm assuming that you're focusing on small molecules mostly?
Yes. Yeah.
And what's your take on this notion of potentially developing immune checkpoint inhibitors to, in combination with some of the small molecule antibiotics, kind of boost the immune response against TB and come up with some regimen that looks like a combination of a biologic with a small molecule?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly I can't comment specifically on whether or not there's a partner that's looking at that or not, but certainly those concepts have been talked about at our meeting. I should also put forth the fact that perhaps next time I can share with you some of our target product profiles, what we're shooting for. I can't do it now without their approval, but no surprise to you, making it a small molecule is definitely part of that. And oral is also a big consideration. Yes?
Thank you. That was great, and I'm glad you were here to present the accelerator. I wonder if the TB partnership, the Stop TB Partnership Working Group on New Drugs is trying to maintain a pipeline of information on things that are making it through the pipeline, and we're trying to establish a place to park things which have not succeeded and perhaps put together some reasons why not, which could be very instructive to other people in the discovery phase, I think. Do you think your members would consider that on any that have failed?
Well, of course I can't speak for them, but I can certainly present that idea to them. I mean, as you're probably aware, there's a certain, within a pharmaceutical company, there's a certain desire to keep as much information confidential as they can, and that even goes so far as, things that fail.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to have that stuff known.
Yeah.
But with that said, there is certainly, I hope, a greater sense of sharing within this particular group. The question is whether or not they'd want to share that information even
Right.
further.
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky question, but could be instructive to others that are trying. They might be going down a path that they could give up early and start on something else.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I will state that the TBDA has got something called the Sharing and Cooperation Agreement, which is kind of the legal framework in which the companies collaborate on. And that, without going into any detail of what that agreement stipulates, there are certain, how can I put it, certain requirements for eventually disclosing information publicly. And so this could potentially satisfy some of that. So
Okay.
it's a good suggestion, and I'll bring it up.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Steve, thank you very much. I'm Andy Vernon from CDC and the TB Trials Consortium. One area of intersection between the projects and groups you've described and groups like ours that strikes me as very much underdeveloped has to do with animal modeling. There are a handful of relatively modestly described animal models, and there's one model, the Grosset model, that's been used for over 30 years, the BALB-C model, and that has provided very consistent, in their hands, findings with regard to the performance of standard therapy, and that's made it a very useful model against which to compare everything new that we're interested in. Much of the development work that I read about has very limited description of some of the animal models and very different or unusual ways of comparing them to controls. And this really inhibits a lot of the community's ability to join in enthusiasm for products that are moving forward. So some effort to build more collaboration and more development in this area would be very useful. Some years ago, we started including at each of our meetings of the human TBTC a murine TBTC discussion as well. And I think if we could collaborate more with groups like you're working with, we might begin to move things forward more usefully. It's very much less expensive than doing human clinical trials. And we've learned, we know what findings we need to demonstrate in order to have the confidence to move something forward in the clinic. Thank you.
Thank you. Seem to, oh, no problem. Seem to be back on schedule.